Washoe County, formerly named after the Washoe people, continues to be a gathering place and home for Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their rich history and deep connections to these lands. We honor their past stewardship, and we recognize that as we move forward into the future, we must share in the care and health of this land and all of its people. Rather than adhering to a specific dogma or creed, Unitarian Universalism embraces our common humanity. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. If this is your first time here, my sincerest hope is that you leave here with a sense of that love, that respect, that understanding, and that you feel truly welcome here. Our strength as a church, a community, and a society lies in the vast diversity and wonder that encompass us all. Your voice, raised in joy, lifts all of us in celebration, and your voice, cloaked in sadness, calls us to your side. If you'd like more information on Unitarian Universalism or about this fellowship, please see me, one of our greeters, stop by the welcome table in the gathering room, or visit our website, uufnn.org. Any of these resources can answer your questions about Unitarian Universalism and guide you towards becoming a part of our wonderful family. For those streaming live or watching a recording of this service, you are a beloved part of our community, and your virtual presence is a blessing. I'm heartened that we can reach out to you and share our time. A few announcements. If you have any joys or concerns you'd like for us to share, please fill out one of the slips in paper that are in the seat backs around you or at the back of the room. Please bring them up to me during our time of greeting. Sign up for our weekly e-news, where you'll be able to find all the details of what's happening in and around UUFNN each week. Simply fill out a contact card found again in a nearby seat back, or at our front desk, or electronically on our website. And after our service, please join us in the gathering room for coffee and conversation. And if you're on Zoom, join the virtual coffee session after the service. Greener Sanctuary is meeting today after the service in the Star King room. They have a guest speaker who is an expert on bees and how we can help their rapidly declining populations not make them decline faster. Anyway. Also after the service, here in the great room, Sandra Quiros from Tu Casa Latina is joining us for another Know Your Rights workshop to prepare us all for the service scenario where we are a witness or subject to ICE detainment. It is important for us in this moment to show up as allies for our undocumented and documented immigrant neighbors. And as we've seen in the past few months, naturalized and natural-born citizens are not safe from the terror of ICE and this deportation regime. Also today at 1:30 in the Maynard room, which is in the admin building, again, the other building over there, is our LGBTQ support group meeting. This space is designed to offer connection, community, and peer support as anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and legislation continues to rise. Allies are welcome, but we just ask that you be mindful of the space. Next Sunday, 6/1, is our Flower Communion. Flower Communion is a UU tradition that seeks to nurture and renew our sense of belonging and community. All in-person attendees are invited to bring a flower with them to the service, and we will collect the flowers in bouquets and then invite the community to come forward and receive a flower they did not bring. Our annual meeting is right around the corner. Unitarian Universalists are a congregation polity, which means that members of UUFNN are vital voting participants in the life of this congregation. June 1st, after the service, is an information meeting led by the board, and June 8th is the official annual meeting. June 6th to 8th is Journey of a Water Protector, a 3-day event of art, activism, and education organized by the Indigenous community organizers Bev and Autumn Harry. This 3-day event will be held at Pyramid Lake and continues the legacy of Paiute water protector and activist Norm Harry. Flyers with more information are available in the gathering room. And finally, Friday, May 30th, is the American Federation of Government Employees is holding a rally against staff cuts at the VA 975 hall, or at the VA 975 Kierman Avenue. The meeting and the rally is at 11:30, again on May 30th. Thank you. And now, time to light our chalice. Left my script over there, sorry. I felt it appropriate that our chalice lighting for today commemorate Memorial Day. It is titled We Gather to Remember by Nicole McKay. We gather to remember those who could not grow old and those forced to grow old long before their time. We gather to mourn and grieve with one another all of our losses, the people, the stories, the loved ones, and all the futures that could have been. We gather to do the hard work of facing the difficult realities of our present and our past, where there is conflict, violence, war, and hatred. We gather to hold space for silence as we try to make meaning of our history to help us work for peace and justice today. We gather to rekindle our source of hope for our future by recognizing in one another our shared humanity as we join in a concerted effort, commitment to a better tomorrow. We gather because we need community to do all of this holy work. Thank you. And now, please take a moment to greet one another in whatever manner you see fit, from a bow, a fist bump, a handshake, or a hug.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Bakken. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Director of Congregational Life here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, or as we like to say, UUFNN. To ground us in our opening words, I'm going to read a poem by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden titled We Gather. Here, gathered, breath mingling, thoughts intersecting, we seek the simple press of presence. Hope open and earnest, here we strive to live into knowing. Our presence is sacred, our connection divine. In the clasp of hands, in a shared glance, we claim our place. Beyond thresholds that too often refuse to yield, in words, in silence, in music, and in stillness, the performances of our existence call to the beauty etched in every being. In a world too often afraid to reach out, we gather here in the teeth of hierarchies, in the face of walls built of lies. We rise in wisdom. Our presence is sacred, our connections divine. It is through these sacred connections of presence that we become a beloved community. A beloved community that seeks to celebrate our differences as much as our commonalities. A beloved community that seeks truth, not perfection. A beloved community that moves with the spirit of justice and fights with the spirit of love. It is in the life of beloved community of which we are becoming through the very act of gathering here today. And it is in that act I invite you all into this sacred time together. Amen, blessed be, and namaste. I invite you to rise in body and spirit for our opening hymn, Be Ours a Religion, number 1058.
And now a story for all ages, The Name Jar by Yang Suk Choi. Through the school bus window, Yoon Hai looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Yoon Hai's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. Your name is inside, she had said. My name, Yoon-hai had wondered. Again, she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. Is that thing for show and tell? A boy on the bus asked Yoon-hai, surprising her. Yoon-hai looked up as more kids leaned over their seats. No, it's mine, Yoon-hai answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. Are you new here? What's your name? A girl asked. Yoon-hai, said Yoon-hai. Une, the girl asked, scrunching up her face. Nay, some kids chanted. No, Yoon-hai corrected. It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Yoon-hai. Oh, it's you, hey, the boy said. Like you, hey. Oh, what about hey, you? Just then, the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Yoon-hai hurried to get off. You, hey, bye-bye, the kids yelled as she left. Yoon-hai felt herself blush. Yoon-hai stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. Aren't you going in? Asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. You're the new girl, right? He asked cheerfully. Yoon-hai nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. Here's the new girl, he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Yoon-hai. Please welcome our newest student, he said to the class. She and her family just arrived from Korea last week. Yoon-hai smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. What's your name? Someone shouted. Yoon-hai pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet, she told the class, but I'll let you know by next week. As Mr. Kokotos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. Why doesn't she have a name? She heard someone whisper. Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and she needs a new identity, a boy replied. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Yoon-hai kept thinking about her name. How was school, Yoon-hai? Her mother asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Yoon-hai simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandma. I'm glad you're learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, and good grades to show that you are a good Korean. I will, replied Yoon-hai, but I think I would like my own American name, she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why? Yoon-hai is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went together to the name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Yoon-hai complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Yoon-hai, her mother said, and that's a good thing. Yoon-hai just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Yoon-hai and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fadil's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garbage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was both in English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Yoon-hai's favorite, for soup. It made Yoon-hai smile. Just because we've moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Yoon-hai. Helping your mother with the shopping, he asked. Yoon-hai nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said. And what's your name? Yoon-hai, she answered. Oh, what a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Yoon-hai nodded again. My mother and my grandmother went to the name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put the groceries in the bags. Welcome to the neighborhood, Yoon-hai. That evening, Yoon-hai stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully, and then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right and nothing felt right. I don't think American kids will like me, she worried, as she began to brush her teeth. Hi, my name is Susie, she said to the mirror with her mouth full of toothpaste. The next morning, when Yoon-hai arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Yoon-hai took one out and read it aloud. Daisy. That's my baby sister's nickname, but she said you can use it if you want to, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Yoon-hai took out the rest of the papers. Tamala, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Yoon-hai nodded and unfolded another piece. Wednesday. Yeah, you came here on Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Yoon-hai's face. Ralph quickly said, we'll put more names in. You can pick whatever you like, or pick them all, and you'll have the longest name in history. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the school day. Yoon-hai looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leaving in groups. Hey, a familiar voice called out to her. Yoon-hai turned around to see the curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey. And you? Don't you have any name? Yoon-hai thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and took out the small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block in the ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or I write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill up a piece of paper. Do you want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep this paper? Sure, Yoon-hai said, and then the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day, the jar got fuller with more names, and Yoon-hai read them all. She found a few she liked. Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you choose the name I put in, Marco told her at snack time. I put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They're my favorite street names. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everybody thought about this. When Yoon-hai got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly and it said, To my Yoon-hai, I hope you are enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here, the moon is up, but there, the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, and no matter how different America is from Korea, you'll always be my Yoon-hai, your grandma forever. Yoon-hai took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it, and she thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. On Saturday, Yoon-hai walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Yoon-hai. Hello, Mr. Kim, Yoon-hai replied. She felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey from her class. Your name is Yoon-hee? He asked her with his eyes open wide. Yoon-hai looked quickly at Mr. Kim and then turned to Joey. She nodded slowly and said, yes, but it's pronounced Yoon-hai. It means grace, Mr. Kim added. Yoon-hai, Joey said slowly, and this time perfectly. It made Yoon-hai smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Yoon-hai, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at the store. On Monday, Yoon-hai came to class early to look at the names one last time. But the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was just a single piece of paper, a paper with a name on it. And Yoon-hai slipped it into her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Yoon-hai said. It wasn't on Mr. Kokotos's desk or on any other desk, and it wasn't on the counters or any of the shelves. As the other kids arrived, they helped her look. Soon, Mr. Kokotos came in, and Ralph shouted at him, the name jar is gone, the jar with all the names in it. Gone? Mr. Kokotos replied. With a look of concern, he looked at Yoon-hai. Did you get a chance to read all the names? Yoon-hai nodded, and she took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Yoon-hai wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. I liked the beautiful names and funny names that you thought of for me, she told the class, but I realized I liked my name best, so I chose it again. Korean names mean something, and Yoon-hai means grace. Grace, grace in high, shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Un-hei, un-yi, un-hei. Yoon-hai said her name again slowly and clearly. Soon, the kids began to say it better, even Mr. Kokotos. and they applauded Yunhai's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie whispered to Yunhai. Lots of American names have meanings too, Mr. Kokotos reminded everyone. When the class was dismissed, Yunhai heard her new friends say goodbye. Bye, Yunhai. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, Yunhai. Yunhai said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. After school, Mother called up to Yunhai. Yunhai, come up downstairs. Your friend is here. Yunhai rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arms was the name jar. Where'd you find it? Asked Yunhai breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name, and you did. He reached in and pulled out all the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Yunhai said happily. Then she pulled the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want to keep this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class, and maybe you could put some Korean nicknames in it for us, names with good meanings. I could do that, agreed Yunhai. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled a small silver felt pouch from his pocket, and then he took out a dark wooden stamp with beautiful Korean characters carved sharply into it. He pressed it on the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Chingu, read Yunhai. That means friend. And Chingu smiled back at her.
As we move into the part of our service for meditation and our joys and sorrows, I want to invite us to take a moment to sit in the wisdom of that story. Our theme for the month of May is pluralism. What does it mean to live and be in community and become a community of people that are vastly different from one another? All of us have had experiences of being different, of feeling different, of feeling othered, and we all have experiences of being seen and feeling seen. So I want to invite us to just take a moment, resettle into your seat, maybe place both feet firmly on the ground, and know that this is a place that holds everything in both hands. It does not see perfectly. It does not feel perfectly. It does not acknowledge perfectly. And it is a community that is not perfect, that tries, fails, and tries again. So as we come together at this moment for our joys and our sorrows, we meet the breadth of our human experience in all of its complexity. We come together this morning in solidarity and righteous anger alongside Paul, in solidarity with the unions rising against regimes that seek to oppress them. We come together this morning as a community remembering the life of Linda Doro, who passed away on May 11th, surrounded by her family, knowing that her family of Unitarian Universalists were holding her, though afar. Her legacy will be reflected on more deeply at Flower Communion, but she was a vital force of this community. And we come together with care and solidarity with Diana as she begins the process of finding a new home, seeking guidance and support and faith in finding a house to buy or rent. We are a community to meet people in the transitions of their life. So I want to invite you to take a moment. If you have not already and feel called to, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze or look through the windows above my head at the tops of trees and take a moment to breathe. May your breath meet the joys and sorrows, the concerns and celebrations of your life, of your community, and of the world. And may you meet those moments, memories, feelings with openness and curiosity. I invite you to take another breath. And it can be as deep or as shallow as you need in this moment. To find your place in a community of presence. A community of solidarity, of care. Steadfast in its capacity to hold the complexity of our world. And I invite you to take one final breath to close out our meditation together. And may our collective breath be a blessing. Amen. Blessed be, and namaste. I want to invite you all to just take a moment and resettle back into your chair. It might mean stretching a little bit. It might mean moving a little bit. It might mean shimmying just to kind of wake your body up. When Emily reached out to me and asked what the focus of the service was today to inform the Story for All Ages selection, I responded with a quote from the Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams. Xiomara actually quoted this last week, and it's so good I want to repeat it. Inclusivity is not how do we make you a part of what we are, but rather how do we become more of what you are. Reverend Williams is an author, activist, and Zen Buddhist priest, and is the second of only 5 Black women recognized as sensei in the Japanese Zen lineage. She's also the founder of the Center for Transformative Change. And so imagine my delight when I give Emily that quote and she comes back to me with a story that seems to answer those questions perfectly. And Emily was a little weary that it might be too long of a story, but I firmly believe that when it comes to pluralism, I think a simple story might not get to the heart of the work. It might take more words, more time for us to really sit in what it means for us to be called into a pluralistic community. The journey of Eunhai's story is simultaneously the story of a young girl learning to live into the power of her name and her culture, to practice self-advocacy, to make sure that she is seen. And it is also the story of her classroom and the transformation this classroom took from a culture of pure assimilation towards a culture of pluralism. The classroom tried to ask the question, how do we make you a part of what we are? and learned over time to ask the question, how do we become more of what you are? And as we've reflected together these past few weeks, there was a moment last Sunday in Ziamara's sermon that has not let go of me, and I've been thinking about it nonstop. Last week, Ziamara said, we must realize that pluralism is a constant willingness to self-challenge and to look at where we might be wrong or limited. Pluralism isn't a stock photo of people of different races, genders, and bodies laughing in a nondescript office space. Nor is pluralism a placid tolerance that just permits and validates all ideologies and opinions, regardless of the harm they bring to this world. Pluralism as a value of Unitarian Universalism does not give us endless tolerance to just say, oh yeah, everybody can believe everything. That's not what it is. Pluralism is a value that requires curiosity and self-reflection, and to use Ziamara's wisdom, a willingness to self-challenge and change. In Eunhe's story, her friend Joey allowed himself to follow his curiosity, and in doing so, made a friend and also disrupted the classroom by stealing the name jar. A jar filled with Western names with the goal of giving Eunhe the opportunity to assimilate into the classroom for the comfort of her classmates and potentially the cost of her culture. Joey modeled disruptive justice. He did not give a lecture as to why the name jar could be problematic. He removed it altogether and gave Eunhe the space to name herself in the class without giving less curious students the opportunity to say, that name is too hard. Can you please pick a name from the jar instead? This brings me to the second point Ziamara made last Sunday that has not left me. Ziamara said, pluralism requires a capacity to detach ourselves from our agendas, our beliefs, our commitments, and to recognize that there may be other ways. The work of becoming a pluralistic community is not easy when we have egos and agendas and commitments and stakes in how we think the world should be. And even worse, when we think how the world permanently is. When I was first hired here, I had numerous members of this community tell me that they would not respect my pronouns. They cited their commitment to proper grammar, stood firm in a belief that there are just two genders. Others were resigned to the difficulty of having to learn a new way of talking about someone. When I was hired, they did not have the capacity to detach themselves from their beliefs, commitments, and agendas to fully see me. Lucky for this community, and while those comments hurt, I have been doing this for a very long time. I have thick skin, though I am fragile, and I have an unwavering belief in humanity's ability to transform and change regardless of age. And I know that relationships are one of the greatest tools in nurturing our ability to unlearn old systems and learn new ones. And over the last 3 years, many of those people who did not believe they could change, and because they have formed a relationship with me, have developed respectful curiosity and a growing capacity to recognize their own ways of being that enriches our beloved community. Many of those people are getting better at using my pronouns. Pluralism as the focus of our time this past month of how do we be in difference with one another, not being indifferent, but be in difference. That we are not all the same, nor do we demand sameness in the search for belonging. There's a you kind of idiom that it both delights and haunts me of we do not have to think alike to love alike. And what is lacking in that idiom is that in order to learn to love alike and to build the space to think differently and be differently requires time, commitment, and relationship. The anecdote I gave about my pronouns isn't to shame people who are bad at using my pronouns. We're all learning. It's to say that it took 3 years for people to build the relationship to start using that more often. Eunhye's story spanned a few days. It did not happen in an instant. Building the capacity to live and co-create a pluralistic, beloved community takes time and a lot of mistakes and a lot of apologies and a lot of grace. And when the world is on fire and the values and beliefs that we hold precious are under attack, pluralism can feel like it's not worth the energy. It is a lot easier to create a paranoia of us versus them than the hard work of realizing we're all connected. It is a lot easier to dehumanize those you would rather see eradicated than recognize the inherent dignity of every person. It is a lot easier to detach oneself from others than it is to detach ourselves from our own beliefs. When Xiomara said to detach, to open up new ways of doing and being community with one another, means that while we can be certain and have truths and authority and expertise, there can always be a new way of doing something. And rather than gung-hoing ahead with one way of being, slowing down to say there are infinite ways of being in the room right now. It is easier to detach from others, to not be in community, than it is to detach ourselves from our egos, to allow ourselves to change. And yet, our faith, this pluralistic religion of ours, that, in the words of Theodore Parker, is like sunshine. It goes everywhere. Its temple, all of space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. Our tradition challenges us not to walk the easy path, to not walk down the pathway of selfishness, apathy, paranoia, and dehumanization. It instead challenges us to draw a wide circle and call it beloved community. And a beloved community that dares to say, you will change the community by your very presence. And dares to say the community will change you too. Not through assimilation, but through the very transformative nature of being loved and loving in this world. And that is a blessing of our faith. That we are called to the transformative nature of being loved and loving in this world. When Joey disrupted the classroom, in order to give one of his classmates the opportunity to be herself and be seen and fullness of her and who she is. And he only had the courage to do so because of her courage to tell him her name first. And for him to have the curiosity to detach himself from your name is too hard. Detach himself from it would be easier on me if you could just choose an easier name. And instead said, I see you. And I want other people to see you too. That is a blessing. That is good news in a world that really seeks for us to look at everyone as enemies. And that is a blessing I offer all of us this day. Amen, blessed be, and namaste.
Circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle.
Now is the time to share our bounty. We are a self-supported organization and receive no outside funding, so your gifts contribute directly to sustaining our collective search for spiritual worth and meaning and to support our work towards building a just and accepting society. All of your given options, electronic or otherwise, are on the screen behind me or in your Zoom window. Share the Plate is part of our commitment to support our wider community. Every month, our Share the Plate recipient receives a portion of your donations, reflecting our mission to reinforce good works throughout Northern Nevada. May's Share the Plate partner is the Great Basin Outdoor School. Their mission is to empower Northern Nevada youth to explore, achieve, and expand their horizons through hands-on discovery in the outdoor classroom. Through the programs provided by Great Basin Outdoor School, they hike, snowshoe, learn local ecology with hands-on activities, and do environmental service projects. And now I invite the ushers to come forward for the offering. Thank you. Please join myself and Lois in blessing our offerings. To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offered.
As we bring our time together this morning to a close for our chalice extinguishing, I invite us to take a moment to imagine the pluralistic community that we're becoming. A place that is not perfect, but where all people can find a space of belonging. And may the light of our chalice be that light that guides us towards that beloved community. I now invite you to rise in body and spirit for our closing hymn and benedictions. Our closing hymn is number 1046, We Shall Gather at the River. If you haven't already, I invite you to hold hands with those around you. And if you're uncomfortable with holding hands, I invite you to softly place your hands over your heart. This is a beloved community of becoming. The community we will be tomorrow is not the community we are today, is not the community we were yesterday. But with intention, care, compassion, respectful curiosity, and visions and dreams of a pluralistic community of belonging. The community we will become will bring more love and care into this world. Our worship has ended. May our service begin. Amen. Blessed be, and namaste.